The sea came in his sleep. It struck like a memory, crooked, half-spoken, carved from salt and sorrow. In it, Captain Arterius stood upon the edge of a burning deck, eyes hollow with certainty. The Black Regent's vessels closed in like wolves. Alistair was younger then, smaller in stature, his sword too big to carry, voice too quiet and filled with boyish uncertainty.
Keep the lamps burning, Alistair. If we're ash by dawn, let someone find the light.
And then smoke, followed by silence. He woke, suddenly, with sweat clinging to his sides, the pendant pressed against his chest half buried beneath his shirt. He sat up, sword already in hand, but there was no sound. That was the first thing he noticed. The debt collector was never truly quiet. She groaned like a tired beast, even at anchor. But now, there was not a creak, not a footfall above. The silence pulsed in his ears like currents too far below to hear. Alistair stood and approached the window. He tried the latch, but it didn't budge. The seams were sealed shut, and caked in sea growth. Barnacles and soft-bodied anemones clung to the outside glass. Pale strands of kelp curled into the cracks like whispers. A full reef pressed against the pane, as though the ship had slept centuries below without permission. His pulse quickened as he crossed to the door. He grabbed the handle and he tugged, just to find that it too was stuck, welded together and barnacled shut. Then there was a low, deep groan from the floorboards, as water began to bleed up through the seams. What started as a light trickle became a flood. The windows burst inward as seawater roared into the room like a maelstrom released. It swallowed his voice as he called for his crew. He kicked against the current, but the tide took him and spun him. It filled the room with motion. And then, stillness. Alistair hovered, motionless. Just the dark weight of water, in a vast enclosing quiet. His limbs floated. He, despite the circumstance, felt peace and calm, like being held by someone who cared more about him than he did himself. His senses were jolted for a moment, noticing that he had no need to take a breath. And then a light. It shimmered, pale and unyielding, blooming from the dark like a beacon. It pulsed slowly, and from it a shape took form. A humanoid suggestion of current and reef, its limbs swirling eddies of plankton and polished shells. Coral branches shifted inside its chest like ribs made of tide pools. Fish flickered through its hollow torso and vanished again. Though its face never quite formed, but it felt familiar to Alistair, like a wave caressing a shore he'd once walked before. When it spoke, it wasn't audible. It echoed in the hollow of his mind.
You are not a mistake, Alistair Mourningstar.
Alistair's eyes widened. The voice was deep, low, like waves on an ancient shore.
You were not born to outrun storms. You were shaped to walk them.
Alistair couldn't move, couldn't get away, and was beginning to wonder if he even wanted to.
You've carried weight not meant for boys. Lost a name before it ever had meaning. That pain, it has taught you to bind truth like sailcloth, tight and silent.
Alistair's chest ached with emotion, and the being continued.
You do not have to be what they fear. You can be what they follow.
Silence hung in the air for a moment before the figure spoke once more.
But not here. Not yet. There is a place
The figure's chest glowed brighter, a flickering point of still light.
The beacon of balance. It was lit once for the gods. It can be lit again, if you are willing.
I don't know where that is,
Alistair whispered aloud, a sound swallowed before it left his lips.
You don't need to,
the voice replied.
The sea will make the way clear.
The light began to recede, and the water flowed. The sea disappeared in the span of a breath, and suddenly he stood alone in his cabin once more, dry as dust, the scent of brine fading like a dream forgotten. And Alistair glanced down. The pendant at his chest now shone gold, clean, luminous, and completely untarnished, as if made new. The symbol engraved on its surface, once blackened beyond recognition, was now staring him straight in the face. He stepped towards a lit lantern to study it, and then the door burst open.
Captain!
Mainsail stood in the doorway, soaked to his knees, his coat slashed and his face pale.
We've been found out.
Alistair's hand fell instinctively to his belt, and Mainsail swallowed hard as he continued.
It's the Regent.